Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Amateur Repair Time. I am looking at a record player today. I have I need to get a new count, but I've got about 25 record players. Now, if you've watched my videos in the past, you know that I've been trying to get that number down, but it keeps going up because what happens is I run across something like this, which is just so freaking cool, I can't resist buying it. I bought two the other day. So my plan is to fix them and then sell them at my store, right? And then record a video of it and kind of play with it a little bit, fix it, play a couple records on it, and then sell it. And then eventually I'll find the one that I really like. I've got a couple older ones from the 50s that I really think are cool that I'm probably going to keep. But this one I would say is maybe late 60s or so. But it's pretty cool too. So I bought this in a thrift store in Charlotte. I paid more than I should have for it, but it's a Westinghouse. What's that say upside down? What in the world does that say? Something setter. Fun setter. It's a fun setter, I think. You know, I could just turn it the other way around where it'd be easier to read, but then it would be upside down because this thing has a lid on it. That's not cohesive to one-handed opening. Look at that. If I open this side, I can't open this side because one hand's holding it's weird how that works. We have our ways around it though. Okay, so here it is. This is a really cool Westinghouse record player. I like these ones with the built-in speaker. A lot of people, whenever they're screwing around with these, they want high fidelity. I couldn't care less. Like if it's fuzzy sounding and it's coming out of a little speaker, to me that sounds cool. I like it. If I want something in perfect fidelity, I wouldn't be listening to it on one of these in the first place, you know? So yeah, you can probably hook up like a line out and put it in something better, but I like these ones that are self-contained. I just think that's really cool. All right, so let's see what we got here. There is the platter, and it has some little things that someone has obviously just stuck on there. I guess to give a little bit of grip to the records. Maybe it doesn't spin around or something. I don't know. Or maybe that was... that sound deadens slightly. I don't know. Look at this. This is kind of cool. This is a neat little fix. So 33, 45. That is cool. I guess in Europe, the 45s also had the small hole in them, but in America, most of them have the bigger hole in them. So that's cool. I like that. All right, so this is turning. All right. So, ooh, I like that too. Look at that. It's in neutral. Wow, we might have got lucky. If you don't know, I'm not an expert on it, but I've messed with a few of them and I know a little bit about them. Let's say we've got it on 33. Well, there's an idler wheel in here that engages to a different place on the, the shaft that's the motor that's running it. And what typically happens is somebody's playing a 33 RPM record and they put the thing away. And little did they realize that was the last 33 RPM record they were going to play in 30 years. So it sits there for 30 years with nobody playing it anymore, with the rubber idler wheel touching the shaft. And after a while, it bends a little dent in it. And then along comes me and I buy it and I put it in there and the idler wheel has a dent. And so as it turns, it keeps going warbling up and down because there's a dent in the idler wheel. So the way that you keep it from doing that is you put it in neutral and then it's not engaged. So I wonder if somebody did that though after they bought. I don't know. If it's been in neutral in storage, the idler wheel won't have a dent in it. That would be really good. Okay, we have a tone knob. Kind of crusty looking, isn't it? And then we have a volume knob. Off, on, and volume. Okay. And here's the problem with this one. Somebody has broke it. Look at that. But I think I can fix it. We're going to try to fix it in this video. It's a plastic shaft, but the piece is in there. It's just separated. So I'm going to try to just super glue it back together, but it's, you know, it's capable of going back how it goes. Now, if I can't fix that, we're kind of screwed. So I'm going to have to figure something out. I think we can. I think it'll work. So let's see if the stylus looks like it's even going to, or the cartridge looks like it's even going to be usable. Again, that thing's broken, so it'll just lay over like this. Let's see if it even looks like it's possible that that thing will still work. I imagine I'm going to have to replace it, but we'll see. Yeah, I know nothing about these. We're looking at the side of it, aren't we? Yeah. Okay. So I don't want to break it. Let's see if I can spin it. Well, the needle's there. But, you know, it depends on if it's what the construction of the cartridge is. You know, these, I can't ever remember if it's the ceramic or the, I guess it's the ceramic ones that stop working after a while because they absorb water in it and they no longer work. And then what have we here? Is that corrosion, or am I just seeing some kind of coloring in there? You know, I think maybe that's just the coloring of the, yeah, look how perfect it is. I don't think that's corrosion. All right, so I think one of the first things I'm gonna do is plug it in. Now I know a lot of vintage stuff you're not necessarily supposed to plug in, but there's a little simple amp in there. If it's screwed up, you know, it won't be the end of the world. I think I'll plug it in and just see if I can get any kind of noise out of that cartridge by just rubbing it with my finger. Because it would be good to know if that thing's going to even try to work. And then we'll take it apart and see if we can figure out how to fix that broken shaft there. So here's what the bottom of it looks like. And now, interestingly enough, this thing is old enough that it actually has tubes in it. Or a tube. 25C5. Okay, well, we're just going to plug it in. Look, if it burns up, I'll fix it. And the cord comes out of this little compartment. I'm sure at the thrift store, they already plugged it up anyway. So I think we're going to be all right. You just missed the clock striking. Okay, so we've got it plugged in. Let's try turning it on, see if we get a bunch of smoke or what we get. Okay, there's a motor turning. The motor needs a little help, but we'll keep it in neutral for now. I just want to see if we're going to get any kind of amplification. Does the cartridge have any life left to give? Maybe not. Well, I think that cartridge is dead as hell. Could be a bad cap in the amp, but yeah, I'm hearing nothing. Let's flip it over to the other side just to make sure. Nothing. Typically on one you'll hear a you know. Well, we're probably going to have to look into replacing that cartridge, but the amp is at least humming, so I don't know if it's working or not, but all right. Okay, well, sounds like the cartridge is dead. The motor is trying to run. So let me see how we can get into this thing and see what we can do. Okay, so the platter just pulled right up out of it. I think there was supposed to be a C-clip on it, maybe that you take off of the bottom, but I was able to just pull it right out. Of course, it went through there. If there was a C-clip, you wouldn't be able to pull it straight out. So I think maybe somebody has removed that at some point. And then this is actually, you can get to this through the back cover. There's a little door. You saw that a second ago. There's 2 screws that went into this from the back. You take those 2 loose, and then once you have the platter off, there were 2 screws underneath the platter as well, holding the plate to the plastic supports. And then we've got this. So the speaker is wired to it with just 2 little just solid wires instead of stranded or shielded or anything. I mean, just like, you know, I would have assumed it would have been something like that. But nope. And I guess there'll be a little amp in here with 1 tube. So that shouldn't be much. This is our motor. Pretty greasy, needs cleaned up. And the idler wheel on the other side did not have a dent in it. So it's been sitting in neutral, I guess, all these years. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do, because it's going to take the longest, is see if I can fix the broken shaft by super gluing it back together, if both of the pieces are there. So I'm going to focus on that first, and then we'll worry about the amp and the motor and the cartridge. All right, it actually went a lot quicker than I thought. I just used Loctite super glue, which is, it dries pretty quick and it's good on plastic. So I don't even know if you'll be able to see it, but there is a crack. Let me see if I can point to it. That is the crack. That is what had broken. You can see the glue, which has pretty much dried already. And it's not a clean crack, but it actually worked better because it's not a clean crack. So since it's, you know, kind of jagged, it meant I could put it right back where it went and glue it together. You can see the little piece missing there. So it's still, it's plastic, it's not ideal, but it is glued back together. Now, how sturdy is that going to be? I don't know, but how sturdy was it? I mean, it was plastic. How sturdy is this? You know, it's plastic. There was a spring on there, and I was able to just, you know, do the old thing where you bend the wire back and around, and then once it's on the other side of it, if you keep turning it, the spring will turn itself right off. So now I need to just wind it back on by wrapping that around it, and then just keep turning it until it's back on there. So once we get that back, we should be all right. I'm going to try to, I think it's all right, because it catches a little bit. We might end up putting some kind of grease on it or something. But we're good. Fix that part. That was actually what I was worried the most about. Obviously, the cartridge not working is a big problem. But that being physically broken, you can't buy that. You can buy a solution for the cartridge, and you can repair the motor and the amp. But you can't buy this. You would have had to swap in something that would be wrong. And we don't want to do that. All right, got the spring back on. So that is back how it's supposed to be. I can't believe that went so well. Pretty cool. I guess that's how it's designed. I guess they just put that clip on the bottom of it, and that's what kept it in place after they installed that in there. I was thinking about, because if you push it down, the break is about right here. I was thinking you could cut a lot of this thread off, and then all that would be exposed, and you could get a real clean glue on it. But the problem with that would be, then it would, since that thread would be missing, it would go up even higher than this. But I think that's how it's supposed to be. But like, it was just sticking up just enough that I could glue it up there. That's the glue line, right almost flush. Perfect. And only 30 minutes passed. All right, folks, I got it kind of mocked up here, leaning on the shaft of the motor so that we can see under it. So I took that apart, just 3 nuts. There's a nut on the other side. Took this end off, took the the rotor out, put oil in that bearing, put oil in this bearing and put it back. And yeah, it was in neutral, so there's no dent on the idler wheel because it had that much clearance the whole time. Okay, so we're going to turn it back on and just see if that thing is spinning properly. Oh yeah, definitely. Very nice. Probably gonna have a ton of noise in it though. So there's our problem. So why is that not touching? It's probably the motor mounts. I'm trying moving it slightly so I don't electroshock myself. Yeah, see if these motor mounts sag a little bit, it makes the shaft hang in there crooked. So let me see if I can show you what I'm doing. So I'm holding this, trying not to get electro killed. And if I twist the motor just slightly, as if I'm lifting this side over here where these motor mounts are, it moves the shaft over slightly to where it makes it touch the idler wheel. If I let go of it, it does that. I wonder if it's because of the way I've got it leaned. Let me get it where I'm lifting it up. No, still off a little bit. Yeah, so I think it's the motor mounts. Here, I'll show you this. Again, I'm trying not to get electro killed. Okay, see that motor mount? See how there's play in it? So you see what's going on. Okay, so you can put new motor mounts, or little trick, you can just put a washer under that C-clip and it'll accomplish the same thing. So we might do that. All right, so on that one motor mount, I have put a washer under it. Now, the proper thing to do is to buy new motor mounts, but you know, I can't really do that in the middle of the night in my office. Now, if you look at what it's done, I don't know if that's the greatest way to do it because it's a little crooked. So you might have to put one under all three. Typically, what the problem you'll have if those wear out is it drops everything. So it makes it where your the speeds are all off. I see this on jukeboxes all the time. But that has kind of canted it a little bit. I was looking at it without that on there. I may have went a little too thick, but without that on there, it was canted. It's hard to show, but it was canted just slightly back. So it was like that. Now it's like that, right? It should be like that, but it was like that. So I had to do something. So lifting that side has pushed it just a little bit too far. I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's just a little bit bent. All right. Okay, yeah, so that might be easier to see. Okay, yeah, so there, that's in neutral. You see how it's bent just a little bit towards it? So it's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Okay, let's see if that works, though. Okay, so we're on. Is it moving? Oh yeah, she's moving. All right, so let's see if it consistently moves the idler wheel. Yep, says 78. Now watch what it does whenever I go to 45. That's 45. That's 33. And that's 16. Okay, so another thing I did too, I forgot to tell you. I used Rubber Renew on the rubber ring. This stuff is great. So if you don't know about this, the only reason I really use it is because it smells good. This stuff, basically, it makes rubber soft again. That's basically what it does. It's the best named product ever. Rubber Renew. It renews rubber. That's basically what happens. If you put it on an idler wheel, for instance, it just makes it soft like it used to be. You know? Now, I don't know how this thing's going to sound. I don't know if it's going to spin the platter properly, but I think we have, I think that little washer got us where we needed to be. See how it's a little bit crooked? So the speed might be slightly off. I'll have to see if I can figure out how to order motor mounts. The ones for jukeboxes may work. They look the same. They look very similar to the Rockola jukebox motor mounts. All right, so I might be able to tell if we're running at the correct speed by playing a song I know. I'm not going to be able to hear it, I don't think. But we might be able to hear it just reverberating from the needle. 78, 45. Kind of looks correct, don't it? Now we've got an LP and a SP needle. I mean, I don't know that it would be any different. As my thing broke back there. As that broke, the sort is moving a lot. I think it might have broke again. Yeah, it's playing at the right speed, but it is not amplified. All right, I think that might have broke back there too because it sure seems to be moving around a lot. Okay, so we're going to have to figure out if it's the amp or is it the cartridge. Now I hear a hum, but we could have a problem where the cartridge is actually sending a signal, but there's a capacitor or something that it's not passing through and it's not getting into the actual amp. But the speed's right, so that's a good step. Okay, so I glued it back. I think we're better now. I let it sit. Basically, I didn't leave it long enough before. So I let it sit for a couple days just to make sure everything was super dry. But now we're back at it. So I'm going to go into the amp. We're going to go ahead and rebuild it. When I took the cartridge off, and when I mess with the wiring, I get a hum out of the amp, which usually is an indicator that the amp is actually working. Obviously, it can tell what's going on because if I'm touching the wire and it's going, oh, the crystal's probably dead, right? So I've ordered another one. We'll see how that goes. That's kind of hit and miss, but we'll see when that gets in. But next thing I'm going to do is take this cover off and we'll look at the amp. I've got the schematics here for it. Okay, so it appears to be untouched. This is the tube socket. You've got AC coming in, running to a selenium rectifier. Those drift a lot of times, but we're probably just going to leave it, but we'll see. It can be replaced with a regular diode, but then you have to put a resistor in it. Yeah, we'll figure that out. We've got a few resistors, but we've only really got a couple capacitors that need changed. Most of there's just not that much to it, you know. So I've got a 0.1 and a 0.047 there. This is our lead from the cartridge. Look how they've done that. It just attaches to ground and it attaches to the pot. That's cool. And so that's what this is. This represents the crystal cartridge. It attaches to ground and it attaches to the pot. Okay, so I'm going to measure some of this stuff and then we're going to swap those two caps, which is this one and this one. Looks like there's two more in there somewhere. Oh, those are probably filter caps. Is there a filter cap mounted on the top? Yep. So we've got these two filter caps as well. All right, so we'll see a clean way to do all of that. All right, so here's what I came up with. I cut the wires loose. We're turned on right now, by the way, so I can't touch it. I cut the wires loose. I replaced the two regular ones. I mean the two paper ones. Okay, this one actually just lifts it up off the chassis. That is this one. So chassis ground and then the B minus, right? And then the other one is up here on the tone control. So I've got those. And then the can actually had 3 capacitors in it. So we've got one, it's a 20, which is right here. Basically, it's attached to the tube socket across this resistor. This resistor is 150, but it measures 130, but it's in circuit, so I don't know. But the cap is across that, right? So I've just mounted it across that and disconnected the wires, of course, to the original cap. Okay, and then there is a 40, which is this one. The 40 is connected to the same ground, and then pin 6 on the tube. Ground, which is basically one of the pins of the tube. There is it's B minus really. There is a line under here going up to here as well, and here. So all of that's connected together. All right, and then the last one is an 80. which is right here. So connected to the B minus on one side and the tone control on the other side, and the resistor, right? So that is this one. So the positive is going to the tone control, and the negative is connected to the B minus negative, like the others. And I didn't have an 80, so I used 100. And I didn't have a 40, so I used a 47. And I didn't have a 20, so I used a 22. Okay. Most of the resistors are pretty much in spec. I guess they all are. So the 220 is 212. The 10K is 9.37. The 150 is 130. That one's a little out. But again, it's in circuit. I didn't take it out of circuit. The 68K is 66.6K, and the 470K again is in circuit. It's across the volume control. So because of that, you can't really check it. If you turn the volume control all the way to one side, you're adding 500K resistance to 470K resistance, essentially. All right. So you end up getting like 270K or something like that, which I think is about right. And then if you turn it all the other way, it's a dead short, so you get 0. So it just depends on how you've got the volume control set. Okay, so then we've got the selenium rectifier. Now, I thought that what happened when these go bad is the voltage goes up, but I think the voltage is going down, right? So I've got 118 right here. When it goes through the rectifier, I now have 112.5 DC. Then it goes through the resistor, and I have 104 volts DC. I'm supposed to have 118. Not the end of the world, but it's not optimal. So the 104 travels up through the output transformer, and it's supposed to end up at 110, but I got 95. This could too be a result of this tube. Maybe this tube's screwed up. It's not quite right, and so the voltages ain't quite right. So I've got 95.3 on the plate, and then I've got, instead of 80 here on the, is that the control grid, I think? No. I think this is the control grid. I don't know. I get it all screwed up. On one of these grids, I have, instead of 80 volts, I've got 86.7, which is, you know, and then down here, on the anode, I always get this backwards, the cathode, I have 5.3 volts instead of 5.4 volts, so that's pretty close. Yeah, so my voltages are a little off, so we're going to see what that does, but I think it'll probably be all right like that. It's close. And I think if I swap this tube out, this 25C5, I think it might change some of these. I'm not positive about that, but I've seen that before, where these voltages will be one way, and then you change the tube, and everything swings 10 volts one way or the other. So that might be the issue. But I think we're good in there. So I'm going to put the case back on it. Oh, and I've got the volume turned up. This is what happens if I play with the pickup. Not the pickup, the wiring to the pickup. So the amp is amping. The pickup's just not picking up. Wouldn't you know it? All right, so I took the old cartridge out. This is a crystal cartridge, and they go bad. So over the years, they basically rot away inside, and they stop working. The newer ones are ceramic, which don't have the same problem. But the problem is this one has a unique mount. It's mounted by the knob on the front of it so that you can turn it over. And then also it has a higher output. So it puts out 3 volts, which you kind of need. The ceramic ones, most of them put out like 0.5 volt. So it makes them where they're much quieter. So I've taken a big chance here, and I ordered a new old stock one on eBay. Not a real expensive one. but I ordered this one. So it's a big chance because this thing might be dead too. The new old stock ones go bad as well, just sitting in a case because the crystal inside goes bad. It just, I guess the connection rots or something. But that's what we're going to try. We're going to try to pop this in and see if this one still works and if we can get some volume out of it, or if we just wasted 25 bucks. I think the knob will mount the same to this one. The shaft is a little bit different, and I don't know if the screw is the same size, but we'll see. Well, it did mount. The shaft is slightly longer, though, than it was, so it's not ideal, but I think it's going to be all right. Maybe. Let's try a record. All right, this will be the test. What do you think? Is it going to work?
Dancing to the music played by the DJ.
It's going to delete some of this part of the video. So if there's big areas that are cut and missing, it's because YouTube tried to block it. This cartridge works fine, but it doesn't quite mount right. The shaft is a little bit too long. So because of that, it gives me issues.
Across the street, there's a party going on. Laughing and dancing, woo, romancing. Everyone's invited but me. I'm feeling just as satisfied. Ain't no big thing. Ain't no big thing. Ain't no big thing.
I picked this album up at Goodwill the other day for 50 cents.
We don't love you
And he never will.
like I
I think what I'll do, I'm going to order another cartridge. Because this one works fine, and I've got 25 record players, so I'm sure it'll fit in something. But I need to figure out exactly which one this is. I got a number from Westinghouse, but but I'm not even sure that it's right. This thing isn't marked, so I'm not sure what cartridge this is. But basically, it has a shorter snout. The one I've got now is a little bit too long. So the way I've modded that is I put a washer on the outside and I put the spring on the outside. But the screw is the wrong size too. It's holding it in there just from the friction. But the thing is almost dragging on the record because it's not mounted. It's not mounted in there like it should be. It's kind of hanging like that because it's not the right cartridge. The shaft's slightly different. Yeah, there you go. See how close it is to the record?
Yes, it is, baby. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Little darling, I need you. Little darling, I love you. Little darling, I want you. Little darling, got to have it. Ooh, this makes the minute I saw your face, I knew that I loved you. You're such a sight to see. You're the girl for me. You.
Ba-doo-da.
I love these people, let me tell you. Oh,
So I hope you enjoyed it. We got to listen to a little bit of music. This one will go on the repair pile again, and I'll pull out another one. Maybe I'll find one that cartridge will fit in, and that'll make up. That'll give me a good excuse to order another cartridge to try to match this one. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. If you know what cartridge this is, let me know. But I'll see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you want to see me mess around with another record player, check out this video.